People, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes and make sure you subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV if you haven't done so already. And as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below whether you agree or disagree with anything discussed in today's video. And the season is less than 2 weeks away now. It's come around pretty quickly. The transfer market's in full swing. Big money signings coming in all over the place. And Chelsea and Man United, two sides that are going to be hoping to build on from last season. In United's case, from Chelsea, hoping to kind of start again and get back into Champions League football. So there's plenty to discuss, as always. I'm delighted to be joined by Beth from the United stands. First things first, Beth, how are you doing? You looking forward to the new season?
Yeah, I'm good. I can't believe it's literally like less. I think it's next week. Yeah, next week the season starts.
Next Friday. City Burnley.
Yeah, City Burnley, crazy. That's going to be a great game, by the way. But yeah, I'm super excited. Obviously, you guys will be excited because it's like a clean slate for you. I bet you can't wait for last season to be over. I'm excited going into the season because I feel like it is one of them for United. With the signings we've made and the money we've spent, you expect us to do quite well. So I'm excited, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with United then. Obviously, we'll start with Mason Mount because that's kind of the big thing that links United and Chelsea. Obviously, you know, he's been at Chelsea all his life. Bit of a for me personally, I was sad to see him leave because of, you know, I was a fan of his. I think he's a good player. Everything he's done for the club. For whatever reason, new deal couldn't be agreed, and he's moved on. Before we get into how he's done in pre-season and stuff, what were your initial thoughts on the move anyway? £60 million for Mason Mount, 24 years of age, England international, 1 year left on his contract. Probably, I don't think it's overpaid, but it's really the going rate for someone of his quality. Obviously, Erik ten Hag desperately wanted him. He was kind of his number one choice. So I suppose from that perspective, United have backed the manager and given him what he wants. But just from your point of view, what were your thoughts of United pursuing Mount? And obviously, you've now got him.
Honestly, I was really, really happy about it. In March, I was actually saying Mason Mount when it was like looking like he wasn't going to agree a contract with Chelsea. I was saying we need to go in for Mason Mount because, yeah, he had a bad season last season, but I think genuinely he's such a quality player. When you were winning when you won the Champions League in that year with Tuchel, I thought he was brilliant for you. Obviously, under Lampard, he really started to develop and turn into a top quality player. I really like him. He's not had the greatest preseason, but to be honest, I don't really judge players on a preseason. I know what he can bring to the team. And it was weird because obviously on the United standard in our fan base, there was a big divide as well. There was a lot of people being like, no, I don't want Mason Mount. I don't know why I would buy Mason Mount. Overrated English bias. This is the whole thing that keeps coming into the topic of conversation. But realistically, he's 24 years old. He's won 2 Player of the Years at Chelsea, I think it is.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, he's got his prime ahead of him. He's got a great attitude. Every manager who works with him loves him. And I think he's exactly what Man United are missing in that midfield. He's a big upgrade on Eriksen, in my opinion, because he's technical, but he's also going to run for you. Eriksen doesn't really have the legs. So I'm excited for Mason Mount, and I think he's going to be a really good addition. And I think a lot of people are complaining about the fee because obviously only a year left on his deal. I was looking at it, I was thinking like Havertz went for nearly 70 million. Yeah. And I think Mason Mount's way better than Havertz personally. Yeah. I know he didn't have a year left on his deal, but he's 24 years old. He's got a lot ahead of him. I think it was, if he works out how I think he's going to work out, in a few years' time, we won't be looking back thinking about the fee.
No, of course, and people forget about the fee if he does well. So that's kind of how football works, really. I mean, obviously, big pressure given the number 7 shirt, the iconic shirt, Ronaldo, Cantona, etc., etc. It's kind of big pressure for him to come in, get that number 7 shirt. Big wages as well at United, a lot more than he was on at Chelsea. You mentioned, you know, he's an upgrade on Christian Eriksen. Do you see him taking Eriksen's place and him and Bruno operating as number 8s? Where do you see him fitting in Ten Hag's system for the coming season?
Yeah, well, we've seen a little bit in pre-season. It's been, honestly, I expected Ten Hag to play his first team a little bit more throughout pre-season. He's played a lot of his second string players a lot of the time, but in glimpses where we have seen the first team in the lights against Arsenal and then also against Real Madrid in the first half, you do see Bruno and Mason Mount playing as that number 8 and Casemiro as the deep lying midfielder in that. So I think they're both going to operate basically. I think Mount's going to be a slightly bit deeper than Bruno. We know Bruno likes to get forward, but I do think they're both going to switch, obviously, and kind of switch through the right and the left channels and pressing from the front. Erik ten Hag is going to be massive on pressing this season. Again, a really strong point from Mason Mount. So I think that's where he's going to kind of operate there. And obviously you speak about the wages and stuff and the number 7. I do think it was a little bit much to give him the number 7, I have to say, because he is a midfielder, and we've had midfielders before. You know, Brian Robson, we had Beckham, kind of a little bit of a midfielder. So we have had midfielders before have the number 7, but the number 7 has had, a little bit of a curse recently. So you
Yeah.
just don't want any unnecessary pressure to come onto him. And people are already saying is it 007, that trend that likes to go on. And I don't care about this sort of stuff.
No,
Honestly, as long
but
as he performs,
yeah.
not bothered. But he has to perform. And I think he's got a lot of bottle to take it on. And yeah, I really hope he does well.
No, I mean, I don't want to sit around and say I hope he does well because obviously he's against us now. But I look from a perspective, I would like to see him do well in the sense that I don't wish bad on players for leaving. Go and do your thing, but just don't play well against Chelsea, and we're good. But in terms of what else United have done, I think low key United have had a decent transfer window. I mean, obviously Onana's coming in goal. We were looking at Onana for whatever reason. We were deemed he was too expensive, or we just walked away because we knew he only wanted United. I'm not really sure what it was. But let's just start with Onana briefly. What did you make of the treatment of David De Gea? And he's been at the club for well over 10 years. He won the Golden Glove last season, but I think it's fair to say that he'd been on the decline. Some clangers against Sevilla in the Europa League, which cost you a place in the final, possibly even the trophy potentially. He was offered a new contract on reduced wages. He'd signed it, but then when the club went to sign it, it was pulled away. Now, for me, like looking in, I feel that's like it's not good. It doesn't look good on United to be treating a player that's given that much service to the club like that. But ultimately, do you feel it was the right time for De Gea to move on and someone else to come in?
Yeah, I can see both sides to it, to be honest. I've got to admit, and if anyone has seen, my previous content, they'll know I'm not the biggest De Gea fan, at all. He's been a brilliant goalkeeper for Man United in the past, and don't get me wrong, and for me, a couple of seasons like 2017, 2018, he was the best keeper in the world, like for sure. Like he has been a brilliant keeper, and he still is a very, very good keeper. But Man United we've got a manager in now that needs to play modern football, playing out from the back, and he just can't do it. So the way we handled it was wrong. In my opinion, at the end of the season, or before the end of the season even, Ten Hag and the club should have said to him, look, David, you've been a great keeper for Man United, but we're looking to go in a new direction. We're happy for you to stay as like a second choice keeper on reduced wages, if that's what you want to do. If not, then feel free to leave and, have a send off at Old Trafford. Fans can say goodbye. He can say goodbye after, I think it's 12 years he's been at the club for. I mean, he's got the most clean sheets, I think, ever for Man United as a keeper. So that would have been the right thing to do. But at the same time, I can also understand it from Ten Hag's point of view. If you tell your keeper he's leaving and you've got an FA Cup final coming up, you've got important games coming up, you might not get the same levels of performance out of him, and you've got to do what's best for the team. So I do genuinely think Ten Hag probably did want him to stay as the second choice keeper because he would have been good in the dressing room. He knows what United's about. He's the only player in there that's won the Premier League. But he obviously didn't want to do that. And I think what was the bad part about it is we offered him reduced wages. He signed. We were about to sign, but then we offered him even lower wages after that to kind of force him out, which isn't really the right thing to do. But sometimes in football, you've got to be ruthless. Pep did it with Joe Hart when he first came in. And, these things can make or break a manager. He was ruthless with Ronaldo. He wasn't starting him, and all the media were calling him to start him. So it takes sometimes these decisions to get back to the top. And I think it'll work out for the best, if I'm honest. The decision to go with Onana, because I can't believe you guys didn't end up getting him. For
I'm
me,
surprised.
like,
I'm really surprised.
he's decent, but he's not top level. I really think after all the money you've spent, you would have invested on a keeper, really. But
Well, it looks like they're going Robert Sanchez from Brighton, like sort
your
of.
loss is our gain because I think Onana looks brilliant. And I love the fact he's already having a go at Maguire in pre-season.
Mate, it just doesn't take long to work out, and Maguire's not up to it, is it? It hasn't taken him too long to work that one out. But yeah, I'm surprised Chelsea didn't go for him. But I think, Onana suits how Ten Hag plays. His distribution, we know, is unbelievable. I think he's obviously he's a good shot stopper as well. And Ten Hag knows him, worked with him at Ajax before. And I think that's the important thing, whether fans agree or disagree with signings, all you can ask for is the board to back the manager. And they're backing him with signings that he wants. I mean, let's move on briefly to Rasmus Højlund. Big signing at United at centre forwards. I looked at, you look at United, everyone knows screaming for goals, for a goal scoring centre forward. A lot of the onus is on Rashford to put the ball in the back of net. If he doesn't do it, then no one else really is on a consistent basis. Martial plays one game, injured for the next sort of 3 or 4 months. He's a bit of a liability, you'd probably have to say. And the striker market, as I know as a Chelsea fan, it's not great this summer. Harry Kane, United, for whatever reason, not seemingly going in for him. Whether they can afford him or not is another question. You look at Osimhen, too expensive. Then you're looking at Vlahovic's, Kolo Muani's, those kind of players. And again, very, very expensive. I mean, Rasmus Højlund, look at it, 20 years of age, potentially 85 million euros if all the add-ons get added in. It's a lot of money for someone that scored nine Serie A goals for Atalanta last season. And of course, he's had less than 20 league starts in Europe's top 5 leagues. Now, I think there's a lot of potential there. I think he's a good player, but is he going to be the guy that comes in and gets you 15 to 20 league goals that United need from their centre forward? That's big pressure to put on a young kid.
Absolutely. And I agree with you in the sense I think we've overpaid massively. I really do. But I really do like the player and I like the direction we're going in. So I'm trying to kind of not think about the money when it comes to Højlund. With Højlund, like a lot of people are talking about, the 9 league goals and 4 assists. But as you said, like he's not actually played that much for Atalanta.
No.
Like a lot of his appearances last season were sub appearances. I think he started only 20 games and a lot of them he ended up getting sub for whatever reason. Maybe different. They've got some good strikers, Atalanta. So you've got to be honest about it. But at Man United, you expect the top level. You do. You just expect that. But when you look at his goal ratio to how many minutes he's played, it was actually just behind Rashford's when you look at the minutes to goal. So he is producing when he's on the pitch, but playing for Atalanta in Serie A and then playing for Man United at Old Trafford in the Premier League, no disrespect to Atalanta, but it's completely different kettle of fish. So there is going to be a lot of pressure. He doesn't score for a few games on the bounce, and pundits are going to be onto him, the media is going to be onto him, and it's just whether at 20 years old he can handle that. I think he's got an unbelievable ceiling. Like he's physical, he's 6'3", he's so pacey. I think he does 100 meters in under 11 seconds. So that stuff that, especially when you're looking at Rashford and how pacey he is, that can combine really, really well for us. And Ten Hag, I really do trust him in what he sees with him. So it's different for us because in the past we've gone for the likes of, Cavani, Falcao, Ibrahimovic, players that are like over 30 years of age and coming into the later stages of the career. Ibrahimovic was unbelievable, but not everybody is Ibrahimovic, and we're paying these players massive wages when they've already won trophies in the past, and maybe the hunger's not quite there. With Højlund, we're going, when was the last time United had this young of a player coming in? So it's a different direction. In my opinion, we should have gone for Harry Kane because I think he's just guaranteed, but I get why United haven't, because I think we made a decision really on in the window, and it was either we spend all summer trying to convince Daniel Levy to sell Harry Kane to a Premier League club and probably end up spending like over 100 million on this player and probably miss out on the likes of Anana, Mount, other players that have been going for, potentially even Amrabat now it looks like we're getting in, or we decide that we're going to go and take a risk on Højlund and we divide our budget and we get in all these positions that we need. I hope it works out. But yeah, I'm excited for him. I think people are expecting a little bit too much. I don't even know if he's going to start initially. I think maybe Rashford will start up front, which again, isn't good enough up front for us. He's better on the left. But I think at 20 years old and all the potential he's got, eventually, hopefully, again, if he does well and he builds into the striker that we want him to be, no one will care about the fate. And plus as well, I always think you've got to start somewhere. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be Haaland. People keep comparing them and it's ridiculous. But, Haaland was at Molde once upon a time, do it. Like, everybody starts somewhere. So we missed out on Haaland when Ollie was telling us to buy him. I think it was like, 20 million that we were able to get him for. And we've missed out a lot of times. Alvarez was another one we were going to go for. We missed out. I'm hoping this is a player that we actually took the risk and it pays off for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think also you're probably paying for a lot of potential as well. You're not paying for what you're getting right now. And I think there's a lot of potential there. I think he can definitely be a very good striker, but full well that like if he goes a few games without scoring, already they've got them up in the media, comparisons with Højlund and Haaland, just because they're two Scandinavian strikers. Like it is mad. They're like on totally different levels, totally different game at this point in time.
United fans know that. United fans know we're not getting a Haaland coming in. Like, I said I think it'll be a really good season for him if he gets 15 goals. Like, really good season for him. Like, no one's expecting that. Ten Hag won't be expecting that, but the media are putting it out there. So, you know what? Let them do what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think it's also an indictment of where the market is at this point in time. Is that like you have to pay massive fees if you want half decent or good players. You're going to have to be paying like upwards of 60, 70 million pounds to even get anyone half
Especially for a
decent through the
striker.
door.
Do you
Yeah,
guys go
for
to Vlahovic, by the way? I've seen that.
it's like basically like the latest reports that come out last night, continuing this morning, is with like Juventus are offering us Dusan Vlahovic and they want Lukaku and between 25 and 30 million pounds as well, which I would take it, but because it gets Lukaku off the books and we're finding it really difficult to shift him. But at the same time, we said no to Vlahovic in July last month. We said no to signing him, and I wouldn't be happy with us accepting this deal just because it means we can get rid of Lukaku, and we're worried if we don't do it, then we can't get rid of him. That shouldn't be the premise on what you're signing a player on. You should be signing him because you
That's
believe
true.
in him, because you want him, and because you feel that he can suit the system. You can get more out of him as a manager. You shouldn't just be signing him because it means that this is our way of getting rid of Lukaku. Like, we have to be invested in it, and if we do go for it, I just worry like, well, what's changed from a few weeks ago when we said no to now? Like, because he
obviously
wasn't quite.
Pochettino didn't want him because this is what I mean. But I do actually think it would be a good deal if that's the club you want. If that's the direction the manager wants to go
Yeah.
in, because I don't rate Lukaku at all. Like, he
It's
had
mad
one.
though. He's scored goals everywhere he's been. It's a weird career, isn't it? Because he's a proven goal scorer. Obviously, he was not good at Chelsea, but everywhere else he has been pretty good.
United fans aren't a fan.
No,
Like,
I mean,
like,
it's a
he was
weird one,
good
isn't he?
for, like, one season, and then
Mm,
he wasn't. It's just his first touch. It's his first touch. It's
yeah.
and the amount of times he's on in goal, in front of goal, and he just messes it up. Like the Champions League final, he could have won it for Inter Milan,
Oh
which would
yeah,
have stopped City
yeah,
winning the treble. And it's like one job, Lukaku, one job.
yeah.
But I like Vlahovic. I don't think he's like top level, but I think he's a really good player. But then again, I've been looking at Chelsea in pre-season, and Nicholas Jackson looks
He's
great.
done
So
really well. He
yeah,
has done really well. I mean, look, I'm not against it. Like, Dusan Vlahovic, like 23 years of age, like at top clubs, you want competition for places, and
yeah,
that would push Jackson on to be better. The only issue I'd have is if he came in and was instantly first choice. He'd have to earn his place.
for sure.
But I think competition at top clubs, particularly in a centre forward position, is only a good thing. No complacency. If you don't play well, someone else is going to take your place, and I think that's what we've been lacking at Chelsea over the last few years. But just very briefly on United, before I just get your thoughts on Chelsea quickly. Obviously, I feel you need a partner or someone that can rotate with Casemiro. It's kind of a bit of a walk-in red card at times. Probably he's going to miss a few games through suspension next season. Amrabat, no bids have gone in as of yet from what I've seen. But United have got firm interest in him. There's obviously interest from Saudi as well. Is this an essential purchase for United? Do you definitely need him?
Yeah, I think it is. I really do. Like you said, Casemiro is going to get a red card at some point this season, especially, when you put yourself in the referee's minds and you get your reputation,
Yeah,
it'll be very easy for him to get it again. Like there'll be certain things like as bad as it is, like Harry Kane could do the same sort of challenge, but you won't get a red, but
yeah,
Casemiro will because just of the characters they are now. So yeah, we do need someone because as you will have seen last season, like if you're a Chelsea fan, who would you rather, if you see a midfield three of Bruno, Mount, and McTominay compared to Bruno, Mount, and Casemiro, what would you rather go up
you
against?
see what McTominay all day long in there.
Exactly. So it's like, and that's not really too much disrespect to McTominay. I just don't think he's a CDM at all. I think he's more of a box to box player. So with Casemiro, he's been brilliant for us. He really, really has been. He's transformed our midfield. But again, at the same time, we're going to be in the Champions League this year, which we want to kind of go far in. We know Eric Ten Hag takes the cup competitions really seriously. He plays like very strong teams, even in like the Carabao Cup. We won it because he did that. So we need squad depth, and especially in the likes of, for example, the top six when we're playing them away. Our record was poor last year.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really bad. And I think that's because our midfield is a little bit too weak in them games. You bring Amrabat in, you can play a midfield of Casemiro and Amrabat and Bruno, and maybe even put him out on the wing or something and playing as an inverted winger and kind of make it a little bit more compact and win more of the midfield battles. So I think he gives you a different option. And he's definitely someone I feel like we need to bring in. And for the fee as well, I think it's 25-30 million that they want for him.
Pretty
Again,
good.
his deal's running out. I think he's only got a year left. I think he's great. I watched a lot of Morocco in the World Cup and I thought it was excellent. In the Conference League final, I actually thought he was the best player on the pitch, even though West Ham did end up winning it. And Declan Rice was playing that day, who I highly rate as well.
Yeah.
So I really, really do like him. And I think he's like 26, 27, so it's a good age.
Good age profile as well. Yeah. I mean, I think United would be pretty set if they get him, and then I think that would be a very decent window. Obviously, you probably need to sell some players as well, the likes of Maguire, Fred, maybe McTominay as well. There's definitely players that need to be
Well,
moved
we
out.
can't get Amrabat in apparently unless we sell. So that's where we're at right now. We need Fred, Henderson, maybe
Yeah.
McTominay.
I think that's one thing that United have struggled with over the years is selling players. I don't seem to be particularly good at selling players. I mean, obviously at Chelsea we seem to be pretty good at it. We're able to just get rid of players and get decent prices for them. Whereas
Very,
United,
very good window for you in terms of outgoings, I think.
yeah, but United struggled to get rid of players. I mean, they will get rid of some for sure, but I mean, it might take them a little bit of a while and probably won't get as much money as maybe they thought they might. But I mean, just your thoughts briefly on Chelsea. Obviously, last season was a disaster for sure. Going through 4 different managers, if you include Bruno Salter's one game in charge as well. 12th place finish, not good. The less said about it, the better. When we see Pochettino's come in, a lot of players have been moved out that didn't want to be here. And for me, I've watched a lot of the preseason. We've looked really good. We look fit. We look hungry. We've got a group of players for the first time in a long time that actually want to be at the football club. And that makes a massive, massive difference, I feel. Youngsters that are hungry, some great young European talent. What are your thoughts on Chelsea ahead of the upcoming season? How do you see us doing?
It's a difficult one, to be honest with you, because I feel like even though I've watched a bit of Chelsea in pre-season and I've seen you have looked really good, it's all the kind of nothing. You can't really tell anything from pre-season. I've not seen a single game with Poch in charge yet, but I have to say, obviously, you're going to have a better season than last season. I think Poch is a good manager. I don't consider him like an elite manager, but I think he's a good manager. And I think if he does well with Chelsea, he could move himself into that bracket. You know what I mean? Because Chelsea, it's a club that expects trophies. It's a club that expects to win things. When he was at Spurs, like that wasn't necessarily expected of him. They just really wanted him to get Champions League and that's it. But at Chelsea, really, you have to be in finals. You have to be looking to win stuff. So that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for him because he's not really been in that situation in his career. Obviously, PSG, it was like that as well. You have to win, you have to win Ligue 1, but it's different. PSG is very different to the Premier League. So I'm excited to see what he does with the young talent. As you said, when he was at Spurs, what you can remember is him getting really good performances out of a really youthful team and bringing players through. Dele Alli was great under Pochettino. Harry Kane was Harry Kane's always been great, but he kind of was there with him and brought him through. So I think he was already brought through, but kind of developed him even further. But I think Pochettino's a good manager. I think you have some really good, talented players. And last season, I think what the issue was with Chelsea, and I remember Thiago Silva got a little bit slated for doing an interview, basically saying that there wasn't enough room in the dressing room. There's too many players. But I have to say, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that is what it was. Too many cooks boil the broth or whatever it's called. I think it was too many.
We had 30 plus players. Like Lampard was saying that there was 11v11 on one pitch, and then there was a 9 versus 9 on another pitch. And you got new signings getting changed in the corridors, not enough space in the dressing room. It was just an absolute mess.
Because you need that togetherness of a squad. You need you need the team to be, to fight for each other and know each other. And obviously you don't have to be best friends, but you've got to kind of have that team spirit within the team. Also, if I'm a player and I know I'm not getting any game time, it puts a downer on the situation, doesn't it? And then that affects other players. And when you have that many players there, it's more chance that you're going to have a bad egg somewhere in there, and one kind of bad egg can really influence a lot of the dressing room. So I think, the players you've got rid of, and I'm happy we've got Mason Mount. I think he's a great player, but you did need to cut down the squad. And I think the likes of Enzo Fernandez obviously you paid a lot for him, but I think he's a great player. Yeah. Even Mudryk, who was getting a lot of stick last season, and he's going to. I think there's talent there, and I think there is potential in a lot of the players you've got. There's a few that I'm a bit unsure of, like Cucurella. I think Chilwell's a lot better than Cucurella, and obviously probably will be the starter under Pochettino. But Koulibaly again was someone I thought that wasn't top quality. So there's been some really good signings and there's been a few poor signings. Aubameyang again, it just isn't the right player that you guys should be having in going forward. But I do think you've made some good signings. I think Pochettino is a good manager, and I expect you, like you said, to be definitely in and around the European spots next year.
Yeah, no, I think that has to be the aim. I think we can do it, but a lot of it's going to depend on whether we sign Moises Caicedo. No Caicedo, and I think that puts a big dent in our ambition.
Can I ask you a question about that, actually?
Yeah.
So obviously Brighton are holding out for 100 mil. Yeah. And I've got to respect it. I feel like they just know that Chelsea are going to pay it, so they just keep rejecting it.
We have to pay it.
I'm going to be honest, Do you think at this point maybe you should just turn around and be like, right, okay, we're done? Because with Caicedo, I think he's brilliant, by the way, and he's someone I wanted United to get. And 21 years old, like you said, you're paying for the potential of a
Yeah.
player, and he could be a huge, huge asset for Chelsea in the future if he ends up doing well, which I think he will. But it's getting to the point now where I'm like, Brighton will want the money for Caicedo. Would you not just be like, oh, walk away and see what happens? But maybe they'll just stick to the guns and wait till next year.
Nah, we'll just pay. I think like at this point in time, like the message that sends, from my opinion, is poor. Like, he's our priority target. Like when United chased Frankie De Jong all last summer. This has
And
got this has got a similar feel to it. Like we've gone so far in this deal. The only difference is that Caicedo wants this move. He wants Chelsea. But what I would say, him and his reps or whoever it is, they made a big mistake. They wanted to leave in January, right? And he signed a new contract, no release clause in it, even though he wanted to leave. You can't agree to leave a club based on a gentleman's agreement. Those things just doesn't exist in football. Oh, you can go on a gentleman's agreement. I think Chelsea, like we've had all these negotiations, we've been locked in talks with Brighton for months on end. Like we've come too far down the road on this one to walk away. We're gonna have to
They
pay.
know that though. They know that. That's why
they know that
80 million rejected, because they just they know that there's 100 million coming from Chelsea. That's the thing though about, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Well, it's not necessarily a good thing, but we've been known for this for years, and I do think this is what maybe you'll get a little bit of that reputation under Todd Bowley ownership. But everybody knows when United make an offer, they're going to pay the price you want eventually.
Yeah.
And I feel Todd Bowley set that up with that Enzo Fernandez deal, because he paid so much. He kept going back and then going back, and he ended up. I think he's a great player, but he did overpay, and now all clubs know that he's going to do that. But if you get him again, it's not our money. I think he'd be a great player for you.
Yeah, I think sometimes I always feel there's like certain players you've just got to pay over the odds for. Sometimes you just have to break the bank. And I think for Caicedo, he's going to make that much of a difference to Chelsea that we need to pay the money. He's not even one of them that I feel is going to come in and there's even a doubt of whether he does well. I think he instantly does well. He slots in perfectly next to Enzo Fernandez as a partner, allows Enzo to operate further up the pitch, which is where he's better. And he's the closest thing to like a Kante regen as
Absolutely.
such. The way that he gets around the pitch, he puts the hard yards in off the ball. He's everywhere. He's all over the pitch. He breaks up plays. He's got a good range of passing. Like he's the all-action sort of modern day N'Golo Kante.
Using at times, as well. He was even playing right back for
Brighton.
He was.
He was. I mean, at least Tuchel's not here anymore because he would have stuck him in at right back probably. So, but yeah, I think Caicedo makes a massive difference if we can get him. If we finish top 4 or 5.
Will your three be Enzo, Caicedo, and Nkunku then? Will Nkunku play the 10, do you reckon?
Yeah, so we'll probably have a pivot of Caicedo and Enzo, Nkunku playing as that 10, probably Madueke one side and Nicholas Jackson the other side. Sorry, not Nicholas Jackson, Mudryk the other side. And then obviously Jackson up front or maybe Vlahovic up front as well. So it's exciting. It's young. There's a lot of potential. It's good. It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, just to round out, Beth, where I know obviously there's a bit of the window left still, but where do you see United finishing this season? What are your expectations? You expecting like Champions League quarterfinals, a cup? What are your expectations for the season?
I always get really excited before I start the season because I want us to do so well. But with the signings we've made, to be honest, I think a lot rests on whether Højlund's going to be good enough coming in, to be honest with you, because we need a striker so badly. If Højlund's good enough, I really do. We finished third last year with Weghorst up front, Martial injured, and not to be horrible on Eriksen, because I think he actually has been a really good signing for us. But, Eriksen, Bruno, Casemiro in midfield. Eriksen is a bit of a weak link in that just because he doesn't have the legs. He's not a number 8, I don't think, in like a top club. I think he's more of a number 10. So I think realistically, and plus David De Gea, who for me personally let us down on multiple occasions last season. So I think looking at that, we've got to be looking towards building on that. For me personally, I think City will win the league again. I think that's basically nailed on. But I want us to be at least challenging for some part of the season. Not to the fact that I think it's going to be close, but I expect us to be like, us and Arsenal, I really expect to be kind of battling for that second place spot. I want us to finish above them realistically, but second place is where I aim to be because I want to build on what we did last season, which was obviously third. But, Liverpool are going to be back this season. Chelsea are going to be back. So it's got Aston Villa, like we spoke about, look great under Emery. They're going to be the dark horses. So we say this every year, but it's going to be tough. But I don't see why we can't at least push with the signings we've brought in. But top 4 is a must. And then when it comes to the Champions League, it really does depend on your draw. Like no one would have thought Inter Milan would have got to the final last year, but they had such a good draw. But to be honest with you, I just want us to get out of the groups because we've struggled at doing that in the past.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, two domestic cup finals this season just gone. Obviously, won the League Cup, lost the FA Cup final. I mean, domestic cups again. You think Ten Hag will be serious, take them strongly? Do you feel you can make more finals in them?
yeah, definitely. I really want us. Obviously, you're going to go for it in the Champions League,
Yeah.
but if we end up getting, through the group stages and we get to a serious point in the Champions League, that's maybe when them cup competitions might have to suffer a little bit because you've got to focus on the Champions League. It's different kettle of fish, the Europa League, than what we were in last year. But I do expect him to take them seriously. Again, won the Carabao Cup. That was great for us. And it really did take a bit of pressure off Ten Hag in his first season, just winning a cup. And I know it's, only the Carabao Cup, but it's still something. And the FA Cup, to be honest with you, in that final, we didn't play well, but I don't think City played that good. No. Again, few mistakes, and I hate to say it, David De Gea, like in goal, it was poor. And I think if we had a different keeper in that day, like it could have been a different outcome. So we are close on a few things, but then you just don't know what Liverpool is going to be like. You don't know what Chelsea is going to be like again. A lot of people, I feel like, have wrote Chelsea off a little bit, but they definitely, with the players they've got and the manager they've got, can be back up there. So it's going to be a tough season, but that's why we absolutely love the Premier League, isn't it? Because I think at Liverpool now, and I think who's going to be like their leaders? Because Fabinho's gone,
We've
Henderson's
got
gone,
Van
and
Dijk, I suppose. Trent. Yeah,
I
it's
know,
not
but
quite the same. Salah, maybe. Like
it's
there's
a
a lot of
whole new
questions.
midfield
Yeah.
that have to gel together. I don't know. We'll have to see. Liverpool for me are one of them where they could maybe struggle a bit again, or they could just be absolutely up there and doing brilliantly. I just don't know which way it's going to go.
It's so competitive. It really is. I mean, from a Chelsea perspective, to round out, I mean, for us, I just want us to get back into the Champions League football, whether that's fourth or fifth place, whatever it is. I take that, and then I think we have to be winning a domestic cup. We're playing once a week. There's no excuse not to be going strong in the League Cup and in the FA Cup. So for me, I think we need to Champions League football, absolute must, but we need to add a domestic cup as well, maybe a League Cup or an FA Cup. Any one of those two in a top 4 or 5 I think, is a good first season for Pochettino to build on. But yeah, seems like a good place to round out. Beth, thanks so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it. If people want to check out more of your content, they don't know where to find you, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for having me on. I like being on Chelsea Fan TV. It's not too bad, and it's Beth T MUFC on Twitter. A lot of United stuff, but tweet about a lot of the Premier League as well, and also obviously the United Stand on YouTube. I'm on there often if you ever want to look at what the rivals doing, and we'll do more stuff throughout the season when we play each other as well, for sure.
No, definitely, guys. Make sure you check all that out. It'll be linked in the description. Once again, thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure you subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And we'll catch you again in another video soon.